know the process anymore. Hold on.
Exactly.
Gosh, it's not a good start. Check, check, check. Okay. I am good whenever you are.
All right. Coming in three, two, one. Hello, I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben Novi Williams, and this is the 16th Team Sports Business Podcast, the Sporticast.
Oh, 16th team. I think I know where you're going, but how about you're back?
I am
Like,
back with a vengeance.
yeah. I mean, let's lead with that. That you're back. And by the way, Jacob got a B+ rating on his opening from Flint. The table tennis
So
CEO.
way better than me. Is essentially what that
Yeah,
means.
he was good. He said, want to leave room for improvement, but he didn't want to just gush. So I thought he did a really nice job.
Good.
So thank you, Jacob Feldman. You want to tell everybody where you were and what you did?
I was in northern Canada, northern Ontario for a fishing trip that some friends and I do every year, and an opportunity to go to a place where there's no cell phone service. I know, and you are the most cell responsive person I know, Scott. I don't know if this gives you anxiety or is your personal dream, but yeah, let me tell you, turning the phone off for 5 days for me, from a mental health standpoint and from a stress level standpoint, is great. And then the corollary to that is that turning your phone back on after 5 days
Oof.
is one of the worst things I think you can go through. So I got to experience both, but had a great trip, caught a bunch of very large lake trout. We built a bunch of fires.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Good
whoa, whoa,
people.
whoa! Hold on, this is
Yeah.
Sportico. Show, don't tell. Don't tell me very large and what? Give me size. Give me
Yeah,
inches.
largest lake
Give
trout
me
was like
weight.
20, 26 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, I would bet like high single digit pounds. Something in like the 7, 8 range is my guess. Big guys. Bigger than what we're usually catching in the park.
And
But
were they prepared there on the open fire, the whole
oh
shebang?
yeah, they're gutted immediately. Some of them we smoke. Some of them the bigger ones you can fillet easier. So we'll cut them up into little trout nuggets, or just roast them on the fire in butter and rosemary. Yeah, it's one of my favorite weeks of the year, and this year it definitely delivered as well.
I laugh because when people can't get to you, what do? They call me. I mean, I was getting, I don't want to say a whole bunch, but I did get more than one, less than five calls. What did I do wrong? Like, Evan's ghosting me. He's not answering me. This, like, what's going on? And I'm like, no, like, I say, did you email him? No, I texted. I'm like, well, that's why. If you emailed him, you would get the bounce back auto reply that he is in the hinterlands of Canada with no cell service fishing. So,
So if anyone's out there who tried to get in touch with me in the past week,
yeah, sorry.
try again, and I am here and eager to chat.
All right. You know who else is eager to chat? I know the
Mm.
Cincinnati expansion team of the NWSL. They're eager to chat. I
Yep.
know the expansion team from Denver, the hopefuls. They're eager to chat because they were in New York to pitch themselves to the NWSL and the bankers and the lawyers and all that. 2 days of this going on, and the NWSL is getting bigger. We just don't know exactly to where they are expanding quite yet. Your take on everybody pitching themselves to the NWSL?
14 team league right now. Boston set to join
Yep.
pretty soon to get to 15. 15, not a great number for a league, obviously. 16 seems nice, and I'm sure they have designs at some point of going even larger than that. You mentioned Denver and Cincinnati as meeting in New York this week. We know of some other groups that are also interested and have had conversations in the past, including Cleveland. The NWSL is in a great place right now. The valuations are skyrocketing. As we mentioned, the Angel City just sold at a $250 million valuation. All of San Diego just sold at $121 million valuation, or 13, something in that range. And big news that we reported earlier this month, the CBA is done. Next CBA, they're going to have labor peace contracted until 2030. There's a whole bunch of reasons why investing in NWSL right now seems like a good proposition. And for leagues like this, we've seen it in MLS for a very long time. When you command a decent sized expansion fee check, that is a non-zero and non-trivial amount of money that gets distributed to other owners. So Boston and Bay FC both paid $53 million for expansion. I cannot imagine that number is going to go down. So yeah, bump up the expansion fee, get interest from a number of cities, including Cincinnati and Denver, as you said, and at the end of this, likely a check and some serious money that's going to go to other NWSL owners.
Do we ascribe to the Christopher Wallace, aka Notorious B.I.G.? Do we agree with the "more money, more problems" assessment? You know, players want more. Players want freedom. You know, it's good to know. Yeah, you definitely want revenue. I get it,
Yeah.
but with that maturation and escalation in revenue, does come a whole host of issues that you have to deal with.
Totally. And the new CBA will help with that. The NWSL is not, I mean, it's not just competing in America for market share. It's competing globally for market share. And we've talked about this on the show a lot, Scott, but it's worth repeating. They're in this maybe 5-year window where big European teams are also starting to wake up to the idea that, oh, maybe if we put money into these women's teams, there's going to be money on the back end for us. And there's going to be an escalation on both sides of the Atlantic
That
about
is not a
investing in
battle you
women's
want.
sports.
You do not want to be battling for talent on a global basis.
But if you're NWSL, what you need to come out of this as the best league in the world,
league,
or at
yes.
least on par with the best league in the world.
Or
And right now
paying
they
more.
are there.
Yes.
And these owners don't have, or if they have the money, they're not willing to put in the money that a team like Arsenal has the capacity to do, at least not right now. But you can move faster. And I think that's what we're going to start seeing. Expansion and CBA, maybe just two pieces of that, but we're going to see more of that from NWSL owners who I think are keenly aware that now is the moment. They've got a lot of momentum. The U.S. women's team just won the Olympic gold medal. They played Brazil in the gold medal match. Brazil is another country that very heavily over-indexes its best players to NWSL. Teams' evaluations are skyrocketing. There's a big push towards fandom and media coverage of women's sports in general. This is the springboard that I think NWSL owners are looking at as, let's ride this wave. Let's try to do as much as we can in the next few years to put pressure on the teams in Europe to make it clear that we're willing to push the envelope further and further.
See,
so expansion, just a small piece of that.
One part that you did not mention, that and say what you will, but it's a star-driven. All of them are star-driven leagues. This is entertainment. Like, you need your stars, and we're going to talk about Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark in a little while for the reasons, which I think are great. But the corporate support, you've got to recognize the importance of that. If I'm a star player, I can supplement my soccer playing salary, even if it's increased to a very healthy sum.
Yeah.
Do not discount that the competition for best means I can come here if I'm a star soccer player and make tons of money. Let me put you on the spot, though. We all know that Todd Bowley is entertaining, offers for the women's team at Chelsea. Great brand, right? Would you want an NWSL expansion team, or would you want the Chelsea women's team?
It's such a great question. I think a lot of that depends on what your licensing agreement is like with Chelsea, right? You need to make sure that like the IP is something that you aren't paying an arm and a leg for, because that's the real value
payment
there.
From the men's side for a little while anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd want Chelsea, just because in the soccer world, even in the women's soccer world, that's a brand that has massive global reach and recognition. And I do think if Chelsea were to have a great women's team, or a much better women's team, I think there's a good chance they would pull in Chelsea men's senior team fans from around the globe, because they like the brand and they're willing to root for it. It's a challenge that you have with NWSL. So right now, yeah, I think it's probably more expensive on that side, but who knows? But that answer could change. I think it's such a great question. And one other thing I'll ask you, Scott, on the expansion side. You always say this, that a lot of leagues at this stage they obviously want a big expansion fee money, but they care often more about the who than the how much.
What are you bringing?
I'm very curious to see when we do get the final details of who these final groups are, or who wins it. I would expect, and I'm sure you do too, that we're going to see some pretty big names and some prominent people involved in a number of these groups.
All right. Speaking of big names and prominent people, now I have no intel at all that the person I'm about to name is not interested in buying an NWSL team. I have absolutely no intel. I'm just guessing that it will not be Jeff Bezos. And I bring up Jeff Bezos.
What makes you say that?
Yeah, I bring up Jeff Bezos because Bill Simmons the other day said that he was hearing that Bezos was definitely interested in buying the Boston Celtics. And the funny thing is, I have been talking with people, and without being too specific, I'm going to say in and around the sale. And I say 2 weeks ago, I said, let's have a closest to the day where Jeff Bezos's name is first floated as a possible buyer of the Boston Celtics. And multiple people in that little group sent me messages laughing, going, "Hey, you were right. Here it is." I'm like, "Well, here's the playbook. There it is." Bill Simmons, noted Boston fan, saying that Jeff Bezos was interested. Then here comes the information. And if you're not familiar with the publication, it's a tech-focused media outlet citing a source as saying Bezos is not at all interested in the Boston Celtics. I think I know who that source is. Obviously, I will not blow that person up, but I have a sneaking suspicion based on other conversations as to who it was. And I will also say that person would know. So there we go. But I am not surprised. One, that his name was floated. I would have bet a little bit earlier if we were a little bit later. Sorry, if we were having the pool. But your thoughts now, just generally, here's the omnipresent stalking horse, Jeff Bezos, right?
Exactly the word I was going to use was stalking horse. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the omnipresent sports. Soon I think we'll have Ken Griffin will soon fall into that. I think we'll have perhaps the founder of Oracle, as always thrown. Yeah, I think we'll have that as well. Those are the three biggies now. Is like, definitely, gonna be bidding on this team. My guess is Jeff Bezos is gonna just kind of chill out and wait for the Seattle team in the NBA. Doesn't have to be the Boston team. That will be good. Maybe he'll look at the football team as well if they come online at the same time. But the Celtics, the process hasn't even started. My people are telling me it'll start in earnest after Labor Day. The process hasn't even started, and here we are with Jeff Bezos being floated. What does that tell you, if anything, Eben Novy-Williams? Did that news reach Canada and the lake?
I'm glad you asked. Yes, it kind of. So I was driving out of the park yesterday with my buddy Sean. I'm in the driver's seat. He's catching up on his emails. And I was like, hey, do me a favor, scan the sports headlines for the last few days. Let me know if there's any huge sports business stories that happened. And he's scanning, looking at a bunch of things that are not sports business. And he's like, oh, this is one that you might be interested in. Jeff Bezos potentially interested in the Celtics. And I was like, I had the same reaction you did, Scott. I was like, what? It makes way more sense. They're going to expand to Seattle in the next 5 years. That makes more sense. Potentially the Blazers and the Seahawks could get sold together. So theoretically, if he wants the Seahawks, the Blazers could be in his future also. It seemed very bizarre to me. And then I obviously later on caught up to the other reporting that said not interested. If you're selling the Celtics, you obviously love the idea of Jeff Bezos' name being floated around.
You sure do. You sure do.
It certainly helps. But yeah, I would not expect Jeff Bezos to be who knows what can happen. But you're right. There's always these guys, right? Josh Harris served this purpose for a while. He was a bidder. Sometimes his name floated out there, even when
some fool said Steve Cohen was going to buy the Mets.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes they do, right? Sometimes they buy the Commanders, or sometimes they buy the Mets. But yeah, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk is another. As we talk about these teams, they're so expensive. The Celtics are going to sell for $5+ billion probably. There's not that many prominent Americans that have that kind of money, and people are always going to gravitate towards the big names. And Jeff Bezos' name, anytime an NBA or NFL team is on the market, I think we're going to hear his name, and we're going to hear Elon Musk's name, right? And we're going to increasingly hear Ken Griffin's name, just because those are the things people gravitate towards. But there is a list, we've talked about it before, of logical Celtics buyers, and as much as he could write the check probably tomorrow with his couch cushions, Jeff Bezos, I would not put anywhere near the top of that list.
My favorite part of this is when we do it and somebody real emerges and we've never heard of them. The billionaire status that we just I didn't know this person.
Also always happens.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of this one. Yep. Then we kind of get up to speed really fast on who's who. Let me ask you this though, because my brain works in weird ways. When you said you were driving out and your friend was looking at the emails, yep. Do you go back and look at them from bottom to top in chronological order, or do you go top to bottom? Because then you've got responses to things that have happened earlier and they're not in context. How do you do that?
On the text messages, I don't. I go most recent first.
Okay,
But
yeah,
on
okay,
emails I
right.
did. Emails I
You go
went back to
back.
Thursday.
All right, so you and I
was
go the
like,
same. My
okay.
brain cannot. I cannot go look at a bunch of old emails starting at the
Oh,
top.
I agree. It'd be
Okay,
like
okay,
watching sports highlights backwards, right?
yeah,
It's
okay.
like, no, I want to experience it kind of in
Final
the
score is 7-6, and then
the
you go.
process of how it would have been
Okay,
experienced if I had been
right.
sitting at my
Okay.
desk for the past few days. Definitely, but it is. I think I talked about this on the show. I did a smaller camping trip in Utah last month, and we were in
Wait,
the
how
park.
much time off do they give you at Sportico? You must
Yeah, it's
work for some
crazy.
really nice people.
Limited, apparently.
What the
Um,
hell?
we were in the park when Joe Biden announced he was stepping down off the Democratic ticket. So we came out of the park 2 days after that and turned on our phones, and obviously the entire news apparatus across the country was talking about a single thing. But it's interesting when you turn your phone off for that long to think about, like, yeah, something crazy could have happened in the world. Who knows? And when we get back, we're going to turn our phones on and we're going to see what we missed. But yeah, I definitely, from an email standpoint, I'm doing it in chronological order to make sure I'm not very confused by something and then have to go back and find it later on.
Good for you. All right, we teased Angel Reese, and I mean this is no surprise because they always make these name associations. But Angel Reese has a deal with Reese's. That's a division of Hershey. We've all heard of that. And in the activation world, that's one. But then this one I like also. So the Chicago Sky, when they play the Fever coming up, they're having Barbie night, and that's Mattel. Bring it all in, bring all the activations in, asking everybody to wear pink. I mean, are you searching for WNBA scores? Are you searching for how did Caitlin do last night? How did Angel do last night? Where are you in your WNBA fandom right now? Are you, did you see New York played Las Vegas? And where are you in the whole process? I'm just curious. And you can say nowhere. I'm just curious.
I'm doing none of those things, but
Really?
I don't
Okay.
even do that for the NBA, right? Basketball is just not a thing that
I'm not accusing you of
that
chauvinism.
love.
I hear you.
But it's clear that many people are, right.
Connecticut Sun sold out Boston. Yeah.
My parents, who probably have not watched an hour of NBA games in the past year or past decade combined,
There's an old
watched
cast.
a ton of Iowa games and are now like actually watching some WNBA games. It clearly has resonated in a real way. And the commercial opportunities for these women, they're they're more important than they are on the men's side because the base pay just isn't there. Right. So Caitlin Clark, I mean, notoriously she's maybe the most underpaid or one of the most underpaid athletes, certainly on a ratio basis in American sports right now, just because the entry level contracts for WNBA players is just not that high, at least not yet. But the deals that Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are doing is the bulk of their salary in a way that doesn't always happen on the men's team side. But the Reese's, I love this. This feels so obvious to me, Scott. I think when you said it, I was like, didn't that already happen? Like I kind of thought, I think it happened in my mind because everybody was already joking about it. But there's a whole thread of these fun NIL deals. There was a Michigan State basketball player named Rocket Watts who got a Rocket Mortgage deal. And then there was Forrest Lamp, the NFL player who got a lamp deal to sell Forrest lamps.
Who are the linemen that had the ham thing, whatever that was?
Yeah,
a whole bunch of
bacon,
names
ham, and eggs or whatever.
Yeah, whatever that was. I enjoyed that one. Yep, that made sense.
These are fun. And partially for NIL deals, Angel Reese doesn't fall in this category, but oftentimes what you want is the announcement. That's the thing that gets the most attention, right? It's the media press around the initial announcement, and doing deals like this that people on Twitter look at and they're like, oh, that's fun. Like, that's cool. That's clever. That often pays for the deal itself in some ways. So yeah, I'm not surprised it's getting attention, and I would like to see more of it.
I would love to see if there's a way to figure out, okay, what is Caitlin worth? What is the Caitlin economy for real? Like, I don't have enough time to sit and do this, but I would like to have somebody delve into this.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm not sure you could ever really get it to where you have a feeling of comfort that your number is really based in solid reporting. But that's why let that stop us. Let's let's throw a grandiose big number out there anyway and have everybody cite Sportico. See, we don't do that. But I don't know.
If
I'm
Angel has
curious.
Reese's Pieces,
Yeah.
Caitlin should have Clark Bar, right?
You should have a Clark bar for
We
sure.
got to get the candy wars going here. I don't.
Does
Is
the
Clark
Clark bar
Bar
still
Mars?
exist?
I don't know. I feel like maybe it doesn't exist. I don't know.
But give her a Reggie bar. That doesn't exist anyway.
Whatever
But
it is,
anyway,
yeah, we gotta get the candy wars going in all of the ways that people look at the two of them as rivals. Caitlin needs her own candy as well.
we're gonna make that call when we're done with it. We're gonna find out. I'm googling Clark bar as we do this. Clark
Yeah,
bar.
let's see. It's definitely part of a bigger candy conglomerate. I think it's
Clark
Mars.
bar. But I mean, it still exists. It's a candy bar made of milk, chocolate, peanut butter. Spun type was introduced in 1917. Look at this. By David Clark, was popular during and both world wars. Combination candy bar to achieve nationwide success. Butterfinger came from
it's
that.
owned by Boyer, so another one of these big confection companies.
Yeah, owner Boyer. All right. So
Yeah.
why has this not happened? Related brand Zagnut. Why has this not happened?
Great question.
We
Caitlin Clark
have to
needs
get on this right.
needs
Yeah.
Clark Bar.
We're joking here. We're going to have somebody make this call. They're going to say something. We're going to write the story. It's going to get attention and say it all came from this. Perfect.
Great.
I love it.
Look at that.
All right.
Sporticast making news.
Yeah, absolutely. In our own minds right now, anyway. And you signed up for Ronaldo's YouTube? You know, I mean,
I didn't, but I might be the only person in the world that hasn't already.
90 minutes
Scott.
over 1 million people. Like, what do I need from Ronaldo on his YouTube page? Like, am I getting recipes? Like, that's all. Oh, by the way, no, I forgot. There was something I wanted to say, and I forgot to write it down.
Yeah.
So it was when you joked about your parents watching, and I said it could be an old cast. How funny would Nita Novi and your dad be on an old cast? Where I picture.
Oh my God, it would be great.
Your mom having a giant microphone, your dad not even having one. She has a kill button, like a mute button, and it's really one person. He tries to jump in, and she just shuts it down. That's how I see that all cast going.
The only men's basketball I think I've watched with my mom is a Duke graduate. So sometimes during the NCAA tournament, I'll just happen to be there when we're watching Duke, and she gets into it. She like very much cares. She doesn't really know what she's watching, but that doesn't stop her from getting an opinion. As
nothing does.
Exactly.
We have to have her on the show. Would she do it?
Maybe.
Would you talk to her, Bobula? If her Bobula invited her on the show, and by that I mean your sister.
I think she might. Yeah, we might need to have my sister on as well, but we could do the whole. We could do the whole family. I would love that.
I'm curious too. Like, if I said to your mom, Ronaldo, are you watching his YouTube page? What would Nita Novi say? Reasons are, yes, she watches Ronaldo, or she knows people who would watch the Ronaldo YouTube page. I mean, is it abs? Is it like recipes? Is it soccer tips? What is she tuning in for?
She's definitely not watching Ronaldo's YouTube channel. Does she know who Ronaldo is?
Yes.
Is an interesting question. I'm not convinced the answer to that is yes, but I will ask her next time. I'll report back on that.
Now, do you have to say Cristiano Ronaldo, or can you say just Ronaldo?
I'll try just Ronaldo. I'll see.
Okay.
But if she doesn't, she is in the minority.
She would be in the minority.
He has almost a billion social media followers.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I'm looking at the Variety story here about his new YouTube channel. 917 million followers across various platforms.
But the
so
funny
that means
part
people
is
are getting counted twice. But
knowing him, the funny part is it bothers him that it's not a billion. That's the funny part. It's not okay.
Yeah, and he'll probably get there, and maybe this is something we should keep an eye on. Passes a billion, social media followers would be a great little thing to write. I'm actually kind of surprised that he doesn't have a YouTube channel already. There's various ways, obviously, to monetize your social media accounts. He is doing a lot of them, and he is making, I'm sure, boatloads of money on it. But if you have a compelling YouTube channel, and he obviously is going to hire a bunch of people that are going to help curate it, but getting any of that volume, and he got what you said, 90 million subscribers, or 1 million subscribers in the first 90 minutes. If you have millions of subscribers to your YouTube channel, that's not insignificant money by any stretch.
John Skipper,
just another way. Yeah. And YouTube's algorithm does help in this, but who knows what it's going to be. But for a guy like Ronaldo, it seems like he could do a little video from his vacation on the beach in Portugal, and it would get tons of interaction, right? It doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard for him to gin up a lot of following on YouTube that will actually start paying him a decent chunk of money as well.
All right, hold on. Now I'm looking at the calendar. The 27th is Tuesday, big day in the sports business world. The NFL owners will get together in Minneapolis. And I thought it was curious about it. I asked people, like, why Minneapolis? Apparently it's like, yes, it's kind of central. The facility lends itself well to sort of day trips, whether it's private jet or commercial. You're in, you're out. From 1 to 4 in Minneapolis, the owners will get together, and I will guess, I'll do my Kreskin impression, that they will approve private equity. We've already written about the funds that sort of will be involved, one consortium and then some others on their own. I mean, how big a deal is it? Because it's the NFL. We have this in all the other sports, but it's the NFL. The chance to make real money. I mean, not that the others don't, but you know what I mean. It's the biggest, it's the richest, it's the most popular U.S. sports league. They can go slower than everybody else because they don't need to do things like this. Only now they've reached such a point of valuations where if I'm a limited partner and I want to get out, it's not so easy because you know you're paying hundreds of millions of dollars for a 5-10% stake. There aren't that many people want to do that without a say, operation control, path control, whatever it may be. So here's your alternative: private capital.
You've been crushing the reporting on this. What do your crystal ball is probably clearer than anybody else's outside of people in the meetings itself.
Yeah.
What do you expect we see? Do you think 5%, 10%? Do you think we approve 1 or 2 groups? Do you think we approve 4 groups? What do you actually think when Roger gets up there and announces, hey, we have a new set of ownership rules that will allow limited minority passive private equity investment? What do you think the actual structure is to start?
I think every group we've written about would not have had that meeting if they weren't kind of semi quasi approved already.
Yeah.
So I think all the ones we've written about, including the consortium one, I think there's some interesting things that were going to come in that consortium group, and I can't talk about it here because I still want us to write about it first. Like I'm hearing some very interesting things. I'm also hearing Roger Goodell wants 10%, and I think what Roger wants, Roger will get here, even though I'm told there are some owners on the committee who were looking at 5%. But if you look at sort of why are we doing this, what's the purpose, limiting it to 5%, I think on the buy side, people might be like, oh, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I would guess that you're looking at 10%. Now the specifics is how many teams and what's the max. I'm not sure yet, but because it's the NFL, the rest of the world will pay attention. And I don't think they'll rue the day. The interesting part here is they will give themselves that mulligan option that, well, I believe we called it a call option before. I believe it'll be termed a little different. It'll be termed a buyback, a buyback mandate. So if for whatever reason they decide, you know what, we tried, doesn't work, the league will buy back the shares of any particular fund. And what are they going to do? What are the funds going to do? Go into these meetings with the NFL and say, no, we don't agree to that term? Or if you want to be involved here, there's enough people who are willing to kind of say, all right, acquiesce to the NFL's wishes to be involved. So off we go. It'll be a big day on Tuesday.
And one thing that there's many reasons why the NFL stands out in this regard. Primarily, it's the biggest, richest sports league in the world. But the economics of NFL teams from a operating profit standpoint are different than any other league. And because of that, there's a lot more freedom structurally, right? If you wanted to take a cut of profit in a team in the NBA, a lot of teams you can't do that with because there is none.
You only have a few options.
There isn't any. So I do think that just the stable, reliable, profitable nature of every single NFL team's business, from the Cowboys all the way down to the Bengals, does make this a little bit slightly a different conversation. I've had 2 people tell me, Scott, separately, but people who are in the know, both say when the NFL puts it out, finally makes its decision, commissioners and owners in other leagues are going to be like, man, I wish we'd done that. So one of the things I am curious about is once this all gets codified and once we see how it's working,
what's unique to the NFL?
What's unique to the NFL, and what, if anything, ends up influencing change at the other leagues, at MLS or at the NBA and NHL or at Major League Baseball. Very curious about all those things as well.
All right. Oh, well, there we have it. I mean, should we wish a happy wedding week, by the way, to Jake Horowitz, our friend of the program?
Hey, very cool. Congrats.
Saturday in Connecticut, the nuptials happen. So congratulations, Jake. Eben and I will put our heads and wallets together and come up with at least a $15 gift for you.
Absolutely. Congrats to Jake. He is Scott Soshnick. You can find him on Twitter at Soshnick. A little rusty here.
A little rusty.
You can find me on Twitter at Novi_Williams. The show is produced by Aaron Greenewald. Thank you to Aaron. Matt Palacio, who runs Sportico's social media accounts, would like you to know that you can follow the show at Sporticast.
Matt's doing a hell of a job.
Which is the hub of the Sportico media
network. This hub may be growing soon. Ooh, tease. Ooh. Tell me more.